So that was just a little snippet of Donald Trump receiving a disastrous welcome on Saturday night as he attended a UFC championship event in New York. Now, President Trump, by the way, he just stopped being a resident of New York and decided to move his official address to Florida. So, Florida, that's your mess now. Congratulations. I'm pretty sure they'll adjust because then again, they are the home of Florida Man. I'm sure he will have Florida Man over for dinner quite a bit. All right. Anyway, so now, look, you could hear some jeers, and you could also hear some cheers as well, as the president had arrived at Madison Square Garden for UFC 244. However, of course, as you heard, I showed you the video of the World Series Game 5, I believe, involving the Nationals. You had a lot more boos actually there. Although, to be fair, generally, baseball, like, they always boo politicians. Like, even, what was it? Even some of the more popular politicians usually get booed at baseball games. To be fair, right? Well, now what's striking about this is that here you have this response, and I'll show you more. There's more context in this video. I guess a longer version, which shows more boos and a little bit of cheers and etc. But this is supposed to be a friendly audience. Now I'm going to show you that video, and then I'll kind of break that down. Take a look. All right, so from where that person is sitting, you can hear a lot of boos, but again, that's relative to where the person is sitting. I'm sure there are other places where there is some cheers for the president, right? And again, I'm being incredibly fair because I don't want to misrepresent, especially considering how this is supposed to be a very Trump-friendly crowd, right? So now, what was also noted in the reports is that there was a small anti-Trump protest that happened outside the arena. Again, I'm not exactly shocked, right? So now, this again, this is surprising. This is the UFC. This place is not exactly full of bleeding heart liberals, despite the fact that it is in New York. And look, here you've got the UFC owner Dana White. Now, Dana White is pro-Trump, and it's not just because of the usual reasons of I like low taxes, I'm a conservative, whatever, I'm greedy, and I don't want to give any more money to the government. Of course, some of that's probably true. But no, it's also because President Trump had actually done Dana White a solid and the UFC itself. In fact, he was one of the first to go and promote the UFC. Trump was among those who supported the UFC in its earliest days, hosting events when the sport was shunned by other venues for being too violent. So now, again, that makes sense. So here we have President Trump actually doing something positive for a business, helping another business, which is I don't normally report on because it doesn't normally happen. But regardless, here's a quote here from Mr. White. He said this, quote, "If you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd tell you the sport's going to do this and do that. But like baseball games for George W. Bush or like the NBA for Barack Obama, now the UFC has a president that attended one of the events. It's like one of the big deals. It's like we made it." All right, hey, fair enough. That's cool. Now, he also added, "I would never say anything negative about Donald Trump because he was there when other people weren't." So you can kind of get White's perspective on this. And look, that's super understandable, right? That said, it appears that some of the fans disagreed with that. So now, a little bit of reaction here, just from social media. Ian Bremmer, who is a political scientist who founded the Eurasia Group, he was pretty surprised about this. And he said, "Honestly surprised to see Trump booed at UFC. This should be his crowd, his type of people. But again, unlike the World Series, this time I'm actually really surprised at this and how unpopular he is, at least according to this crowd. Outside of Trump rallies, it appears that a lot of people not exactly happy with him. There's another Twitter user, Keating Thomas, who said this, quote, Trump got booed at a UFC match? That's like if Bernie Sanders got booed at a vegan bakery in Brooklyn. Just to show how pro-Trump the UFC normally is. Or, heck, what's next? Him getting booed at WWE? That would be... Look, that would be crazy. All right, but who knows? It could happen. So now, kind of embarrassing, right? When you get booed at a place that's supposed to be filled with allies, friendly faces. So what do you do? What do you do if you're President Trump? You deny it happened. Now, Trump had retweeted different footage of his entrance to the UFC 244, which said his arrival had a positive reaction. And again, I'm going to say that it was actually mixed, more of a mixed reaction, right? Now, that video was filmed too close to the speakers, so it was very difficult whether to ascertain whether it was boos or cheers. It could have been either, but you couldn't hear it over the sound of AC/DC. Which, hey, I don't mind hearing that. I like that song. But it's sort of the classic, let's drown out the crowd just in case. And again, those cheers also drowned out. Now, Eric Trump also tweeted to say that the crowd was chanting Donald Trump, USA, USA Today. There wasn't any video that accompanied that. So I'm gonna have to cast doubt on the veracity of that claim. Just saying. Now, there are also signs allegedly reading remove Trump and impeach Trump. So I don't know about that because I didn't see any video of that either. So let's be fair, right? But look, I think it's overall kind of embarrassing when you think about it. Not necessarily the boos, because again, every president gets booed, especially if you go to a baseball game or there are people out there that don't like particular presidents. That's fair. But I think what's more embarrassing is the attempt to cover it up. And that's the thing, right? Literally going and gaslighting the American people on social media to say, oh, no, they weren't booing. They weren't booing. They were cheering. They were saying boo-earns. Boo. No, they weren't saying boo-earns. They're actually booing you. Maybe you should go and you should own that and say, oh, there's some people don't like me. They don't like what I'm doing for America. Well, that sucks for them because I'm going to MAGA or something crazy like that. Go out and own it, man. Own the fact. But the problem is with Trump, and I've noticed this, and I'm sure you have too, is that he's genuinely shocked when he realizes that there are people out there that don't like him. I know, it's crazy. That's like me reading YouTube comments and being like, oh my God, making Pikachu face, right? Saying, oh my God, I can't believe that there are people on the internet that disagree with me, that don't like me. How dare they? No, but honestly, he doesn't understand that. And it's because he surrounds himself with people who suck up to him. Because he's allegedly rich, because he has his name on buildings, and all that. So he just doesn't understand that there are people out there that literally do not like him at all. And it's really, really kind of sad. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.